Hello, everyone. Good evening, and a very warm welcome to all our audience today. I really appreciate you all joining us this evening. I'm Avisha. I'm the content marketer at Coditas, and I'll be your host for today's webinar on mastering user experience design. As the speakers, we have Chandan Mishra, the co-founder and chief design officer at Coditas, with over a decade of experience in design and entrepreneurship. Along with him is Praveen Singh Pundhir, the lead UX designer with an impressive track record of working with renowned names like HDFC, JPMC, and more. And our UX design trainer, Divij Deswal, has a vast portfolio of training universities, schools, and corporates in the field of UX design, visual design, and game design. To know Coditas better and for some amazing content, do follow us on social media channels. We are very active on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Also, do subscribe to our YouTube channel so that you are notified about our next webinar. Now, a final note before we start the webinar. There will be a question and answer session towards the end of the webinar. So if you have any questions during the presentation, please feel free to put them in the chat section. Over to you, Chandan.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Avisha, for a wonderful introduction. And I'm very excited to be part of this session today. And it's basically a repeat of what we have been doing since last 2 years. I don't know how many of the attendees know here, but we have been running this program since 2 years now. And we would have had at least around 100 people graduate from this program so far. We have ended up hiring a bunch of folks from this program, and a lot of people have moved on to join larger companies outside. Pretty successful program over the years, and it was started with the goal of giving and sharing the knowledge which is extremely relevant to what we do as design teams, right? Working with clients in multiple different domain, multiple different constraints and challenges, and how we see our own understanding of design process change, based on the constraint that we are dealing with. So that is the goal. That has been the goal since the beginning. We have made a small change to the program over the years by refining the curriculum, refining the training material that we used to use to make it as accurate as possible as what we do day in and day out working on a client project. So we have deliberately tried to keep content away from what you could get from online sources or even colleges and universities, because they are generally designed to make you aware of millions of things, but practically you end up doing just handful of things when it comes to executing a design process, right? But yeah, so that is about the program. I think we'll definitely get into deep discussion around some of that. Divij will walk us through all of that. But before that, I'll take a step back and make sure that all of you know who we are at Coditas. I myself have over 10 years of experience. So I started a company. I merged with Coditas in 2015, and that's how I have been contributing to Coditas's growth since then, 8 years now. And we have grown the company to more than 1,000 people a day, offering services across the umbrella of software development lifecycle. So from design to development to all the other services. Can you guys hear me? Am I audible, Avisha?
Yes,
Fine.
Chandan.
I somehow lost my camera feed. I lost my camera feed, but okay, fine. It's right. I'm sorry. But yeah, so we've been working and doing a lot of good work in product engineering space, and that is one of the uh, you know, fundamental of the service that we provide is basically UX is a very integrated part of all the work that we do. It is not just another skill for us. When we speak to our clients, they are very impressed by the fact that we have a deeply integrated UX team in the larger product engineering team, and that kind of spills to the philosophy that we have, where we believe that user experience is not only a responsibility of designers.
Yeah.
It is in fact a responsibility of the entire product team. So software developers, QAs, DevOps, each and every person who is part of the execution or the building of the product is responsible for ultimately pushing out a good user experience for the end users. So we work in a very integrated way with the product engineering teams. We have worked with many different clients. I think probably more than 200 clients so far, from mobile applications to web applications to kiosk, wearable devices, like you name it, and we would have done it from again multiple different domains, e-commerce, fintech, BFSI, multiple different. So we built a very interesting solution for managing, horse barns, for example, something as unique as that to multi-million dollar, billion-dollar e-commerce businesses, banking businesses. Is what we have worked on, and through this program we hope to um, use some of those knowledge that we have accumulated over the last many years and share it with everyone who is going to be participating in this program also in the future. As a team, we work in a very mutual knowledge sharing way where your growth becomes our responsibility. What that essentially means is if you are part of our team, we ensure that you have access to right resources, right mentorship, right people, everything that you need to be successful in your life and in your career. And I hope to share that with whoever becomes part of this. I think we already have a bunch of people who are ready to go. We are just figuring out a few operational stuff before we launch. And like always, the batch size this time around is also very controlled. We have intentionally kept very small batch size to ensure each and everyone is getting the required attention. You will be working with a lot of senior designers at Coditas. You will have dedicated mentors mapped to you who are senior designers, lead designers at their respective teams and clients. And it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. It's not going to be a conventional learning journey. We will definitely pick up a lot of tools, a lot of design fundamentals, and of course you and I, everyone who's going to be part of this program, we will have a direct one-on-one connect as well. So I can be reached at any point in time for whatever that you require to be successful at for whatever you're doing, right? So yeah, that's about Coditas. That's about me, and I think we can probably get into the details, Divij and Davisha, the way you have planned. I think there's
Thanks a lot.
something wrong with Praveen's camera. Unfortunately, he can't. But yeah, he is not. Praveen is not a black screen guy. He's very handsome. He's a very great individual. Probably something wrong with his camera right now. But okay, it's okay. It's okay. I think we can continue. You can always you'll anyways get to meet him as soon as you become part of the program, or you can connect with him on LinkedIn as well. I hope Praveen, you can hear me. At least the mic is working. I hope.
Yes, Chandan, I can hear you.
Acha.
I can hear you.
But I think there's
Yes.
there's something wrong with the camera, but that's okay. I think we can continue. That's okay.
Yes, I'm trying to figure out to fix it. Let's see.
Sure, no problem at all. I think that's okay. That's okay. I think as long as Divij and I am here, I think we should be able to handle it. Sure, Divij, Abhishek,
Oh,
please take it ahead from here.
All right.
Sure.
So, Praveen sir may have not turned on the light. Maybe that is also something. So, Praveen sir, please check the light. Okay, just kidding. So, let us
Possible.
start.
Friday
I have
Friday
already-
evening, right? Friday evening.
Friday.
What do you expect? Lights go off during Friday evenings, right?
Right, right. So, I'm already seeing some comments coming. Good evening to all. Vishakha, Rahul, Nazakat, Pawan, who all have joined. I welcome you all to this webinar. And today we'll talk about a little bit introduction about UX design and interaction design, and then we'll talk about our program that we are going to conduct this time around. So I'll just share my screen. Um, all right. So I hope everyone can see my screen. So yes, so as Chandan has already talked about, Coditas, we are a team of engineers and designers building high quality software products. We have been in the business for 9 years. We have more than 1,000 team members. Our office, of course, is based in Pune, and we have built hundreds of softwares from medium scale startups to Fortune 100 companies. So we have had a diverse portfolio and experience of working with multiple companies, right? And of course, this training program, this is the 5th or the 6th iteration. We have done this training program many times in the past. Of course, we keep on changing certain things, keep on changing it according to what is happening in the industry. But yeah, today's agenda is we'll talk about basics of interaction design, how it can be good as a career option, and some tips on how we can master this design, um, this design part, that is UX, right? So basics of interaction and UX design. Of course, it's an umbrella term. Usually, when we talk about UX design, people equate it with UI design because most of the work is happening there. Most of the innovations, most of the new products being designed are in the space of user interface, where we are designing for screens, right? Lots of screens we are designing for smart products. So that is why people equate it with that. But UX design can indeed include physical products also. So you can also, even I'm sitting on a chair, even there's experience design for this chair, which includes ergonomics, which includes how comfortable I am, right? But mostly we talk about digital screens because that's where most of the innovation is happening. But even in screens, there are a lot of different things like interaction design, writing for the screens, what kind of language we should use, use of animations, use of illustrations, making sure that the sound design is there, and so on. Lots of things are there. So it's an umbrella term, and lots of different things are there. And when we usually talk about UX designer, we can talk about the role that usually includes UI design and many other things. Some people may include, some roles may also require you to do research, right? So all these things comprise of UX design. We also see lots of different people from other design backgrounds come into UX design because of course it's lucrative. So like graphic designers, architects, um, product designers, they transition into UX design, and everyone has certain amount of experience that they come with, but UX design is something that can use all of that experience that you have. So there's no really a prerequisite. I've trained lawyers to be UX designers, I've trained architects, I've trained designers, I've trained engineers to become designers. So any or all the experience that you come with is very helpful in UX design. And interaction design is a small branch of UX design and UI design where we talk about everything. So usually interaction design, people might think that it's just the animation or what is happening on the screen. But even the words that we choose can change the experience. So what words are we using in the application that makes a user-friendly experience and not intimidate the user in any way? Visual representation, which might include illustrations that we are using, videos that we are using, icons that we are using, and other one is objects and space. So what kind of environment am I using a device in? So smartphones can usually be used in our hands, right? Computer is used on a table. Then there's ATM machine. So that itself has certain context. There's no keyboard in an ATM machine. So how do I design for that, right? So that is also something that we look at. Then time, which usually deals with animations and how when time is going on, how can interaction and things around it change. And then behavior, that is what can be the action and reaction between the product and the user. So these are called the dimensions of interaction design, and we can talk about it in detail. But these are all the things that comprise of a good user experience for a product, right? Um, then of course UX design as a career, like I said, lots of people have been coming to this particular branch of design because first reason is screens are being used more than ever. Everyone now has a smartphone. Some people also have refrigerators which have screens. So how do we design for that? Everyone is using laptop. Lots of people also use computers. Lots of people use other smart devices. Smart automation is happening in home. So how do we design for all these things? So that is why UX is becoming more lucrative, and more designers are going towards this field, right? And the second reason, the need for UX designers, startups go through rapid development process, which requires iterations to improve upon. So there might be an app which has been released, but it requires improvements. It requires improvements according to the technology which is there, changing consumer behavior, and so on. Of course, like I said, new smart devices every day. Something smart comes, so smart ACs, smart refrigerators, smart TVs are already there. So UX design for those, because again, it does not have a keyboard. We have to think about that. How can a person control a TV with only a remote? And for all these developments, for all these product design, we require design thinkers. We require people who understand UX. We require people who understand psychology, and so on. People who understand how to do research. So lots of these things come into the purview of UX design, right? And of course, career growth in UX design. So we start as, so this particular chart, this diagram shows apprentice, skilled practitioner, master craftsperson, design manager, and design leader. So this is a UX leadership model. You can check this out. You can read about it in detail. But how do you, now let's come to how do you master these things? Okay, there are many misconceptions. Many things might not go your way if you are being a self-learned designer. So for one of the first thing is, it's always good to have a mentor when you are starting your design career, who can guide you, who can give you feedback on your designs, who can tell you what is going right, what is going wrong. So even if you are a self-taught designer or you are doing a course, it is always good to have a person commenting on your portfolio, commenting on your designs, understanding what kind of improvements that you might need. Okay. What also lots of people might think or might have a misconception is that you need to learn every software which is there. Okay. So mastering UX or interaction design actually does not require you to understand all these different tools. Okay. You might even be a really good designer only using Figma itself. Okay. We also see the trend of new, of course, generative AI is coming up, but new tools keep coming up. So some time back, what happened is Adobe bought Figma, right? Adobe XD was their own prototyping tool, their own UI design tool, but they have bought Figma, and very soon they might also stop using Adobe XD. Okay, now we might ask what happened to those designers which only used Adobe XD. But usually that is not the case. It's according to the organization, and a person who knows Adobe XD can also know Figma very well. So we just need to understand the basics of these tools, and mastering all these tools also require understanding of the process, how a product is built, how the coding team requires the output to be, and so on. So the second point is that you do not need to master all the tools. You can just use one tool and be really efficient at it. And other than that, you must have a generalist approach when you are starting out. So when you start your career, you can read about interaction design, you can read about design thinking, you can read about UX writing. So all these things we keep on learning, then we get some projects, and sometimes we ourselves may choose to go to a single route. Maybe you become a UX writer in the future, maybe you become an interaction designer, maybe you become a motion graphics designer, right? But when we are starting out the career, when we are starting out as a designer, it is usually recommended that you read everything, you understand everything. And then of course, sometimes our work or our portfolio sometimes start to go in certain way. We start to do things that we like, or sometimes we can do it consciously, that okay, I want to become an interaction designer only. And then of course we can ask our manager or our leadership that if they have projects according to that. So lots of different things are there. Mastering, of course, is a big task, and that is where our Mastercamp comes in. So if you have any questions regarding UX design, you can write it in the chat, and we will take it after we talk about this course. We'll have a Q&A session. So our UX and IXD Mastercamp, as I have said, we have had multiple iterations. We used to have the learn as you earn UX design course, but now this is the 6th iteration, and we already have multiple designers. You can reach out to them on LinkedIn. You can ask what was their experience with the program. We might have a session on that also. So why did we set up this training program? we wanted to train for the right context. So usually when you learn online, when you learn through YouTube, when you learn through Google, you do not get the experience of working in a team. You do not get the experience of working in an organization. So usually people end up being alone, or maybe a group of two, group of three. But a company is a big place where you have to deal with managers, you have to deal with the product team, which might have software engineers. So we try to train for the right context, and we also try to keep the training program itself modern and talk about the products that are upcoming. So like generative AI, which can be used for visual design or UX writing also. So we'll be talking a lot about generative AI in this iteration of our UX design course. We want to train for the right skills. Like I said, understanding about all the tools does not matter. We have to understand the basics and the foundations. And then tool is the secondary thing, which can keep on changing, which can keep on updating. Figma is coming up with a lot of new features. So nobody is an expert in Figma always. You cannot be an expert in a feature that has not come out yet, right? So lots of features keep coming in. You can learn about them as they come, and tools also change in many different ways. So we have to make sure that we are learning the right skills and not the skills which may come and go or which are not very important, right? Then we also make sure that we train for the right exposure. That is, we have a collaborative environment. You will be trained by me. I will be giving feedback, but you will also be getting feedback from a mentor from the industry, a senior designer from Coditas itself, and they can tell you a lot about your design. They can give feedback, and they can tell what happens in a team, or what you should leave out. Sometimes the scope is too big that we do many things at once, but that senior designer can tell you that this is not something that you should include. Is something that you should exclude, because in the end, then the timeline might be get stretched, right? So things like these you should also understand, and that is what happens in our training program. So how does the training look like? This time our training is 16 weeks, 5 days a week we'll have training, so and 8 hours a day. So we will start from around 10 a.m. in the morning, and then of course we'll have activities. We'll have theoretical part as well as the practical part, and that will take around 2 to 3 hours. Then of course we'll be building our design, reading upon material. So that includes the whole 8 hours. So it's not like I'll be speaking for the whole 8 hours. It's usually me speaking for maybe 2 hours, 3 hours. Then you have the homework or the reading or practicing all these things. So it becomes 8 hours a day. So in the first 4 weeks, we learn the fundamentals of UX, the foundation of UX through engaging activities, and we would understand how to do research, what is the design thinking process. In the coming 4 weeks, weeks 5 to 8, we start defining our problem statement. We start understanding what kind of problem we would work on, what kind of screens we would be designing. So will we be designing an app, or will we be designing a website? Will we be designing a smart TV application? Will we be designing something for the smartwatch? So these kind of things we start defining from weeks 5 to week 8, and you of course get feedback on your work, on whatever you're doing. Then in the weeks 9 to 12, we start understanding about UI design, learning about, of course, the tools that will start from the start itself. Figma will be the tools that we'll be using, and understanding how design for screen is done, so that we can actually turn our ideas onto a screen into a digital product. And finally, from week 13 to 16, we'll try and make a whole project out of it. So if you understand, we usually UX designers have a portfolio, and in that portfolio we have different visual design projects. Some people call it a UX case study. They upload it on Behance, or they make it a PDF. So from week 13 to 16, we already would have done the research. We would have identified the problem statement. We would have done our research. We would have done our design. We will make the prototype also, and then finally, in the final weeks, we'll understand how to build the portfolio, how to give interviews, what kind of questions can be asked, and how to make it really presentable. So that is that polishing of your product that you have created, the design that you have created. That is what we'll do in the final 4 weeks. Right now, what will you get out from this training program? This was the structure. So you will get one-on-one guidance. Okay. So we usually keep batches really small, so everyone gets attention, right? And senior designers and industry leaders will also be getting on a call with you, giving you any feedback that you need, um, and telling you how you can proceed, right? So one-on-one guidance you get. There's of course one of the most affordable UX design training programs, and of course the quality is never compromised. You get to learn the theory, you get to learn the practical, you get to learn the important software which is there, and in the end you will have a strong portfolio project which can get you started for your career as a UX designer. You will also get the exposure of how a design team functions. So there's something that a Google UX design certificate might not give you, that how do I work with a team? How do I work when I have a deadline? How do I work when there's a teammate who is also working? How do I collaborate with people? So this is something that you will get to know. Of course, you will have access to certain design events. So Coditas usually has a certain event on Wednesday where we talk about what is going on in the design team, what new products are being designed. So you also get an opportunity to attend those events on Wednesday and see what is happening in Coditas, and people share their experience. So that is also something you get in this training program. This is testimonials from previous learners, from Saloni, Kshitij, and Zihan. So this is something you can read, and you can reach out to them on LinkedIn. You can connect with them, and they can also share their personal feedback. So of course, what they liked is the training makes you think like a designer. Saloni liked the constant feedback, and Kshitij liked the fact that the training was very in depth in all the different topics that we talk about, right? Now, what happens when you complete the training? So you get, of course, the portfolio project through feedback, through assignments. You get all the reviews, and you also get the training for interviews, how to give interviews, like I said, what questions can be asked, what you should prepare for, how to present your portfolio, and so on. Then you get a certificate for training from Coditas, that you have trained for 16 weeks and you understand the ropes and you understand the foundations of the user experience design. So you get the certificate. For some individuals, you might get an internship opportunity as a UX designer in Coditas itself. So this is something that we might offer to certain individuals. And yeah, so if you want to enroll in this training program, we'll be dropping the link, or we'll be dropping the email address in the chat. So you can drop your name, and you can just ask about any query about the training program itself, and you will be getting a reply, okay, on this email, that is design-training@coditas.com.
So
So
thank you so much, Divij. One small correction to the last slide there, Divij. I think yeah, it is. So the batches are not going to start in October. Yeah, they are going to be starting very soon.
The batches are not starting in October.
Yeah, small
They'll be
typo.
starting soon. Within the next week or next to next week, we'll be starting. So you might only have time to think till this weekend. So apply quick. And now we can move on to the Q&A session. And of course, follow us.
I would just like to add a couple of points to what Divij mentioned. When we train individuals into UX design fundamentals, one thing that all of us have to fully understand is UX is a very huge field. Our definition of what UX looks like is going to come from the context of the problems that we have solved and the kind of projects that we have worked on. It is absolutely possible that you or somebody else has a different definition of it. But the beauty of UX as David mentioned at the start of the session, it is a combination of many different disciplines, and each and every discipline is going to bring in its own flavor of, doing things, or even a different perspective of looking at certain design problems. Not every design problem requires a digital medium, so or a software product for that matter. We do come up with software solutions where we fully rely on just WhatsApp as a design channel, right? Or sorry, as a solution channel, or even SMSs or emails as a design channel, right? So the screens and the form factors for which you end up designing a prototypes, they are generally driven by the fact that the end users are going to be living on a specific, or going to be consuming a specific platform more, and then the overall design problem is kind of envisioned from a practical execution standpoint. In this training, we try to stick to the software medium, as in the assignments are mostly revolving around a specific problem statement, and so a lot of time these problem statements are something that you personally would want to solve, and always wanted to do something about, or fix the e-commerce experience for kids probably, right? So whatever your passion is, and whatever problem that you want to solve, we can always go ahead and pick some of those problem statements. The chances are we will already have those experiences in our teams already. So let us assume that you have picked up a problem statement, or your assignment is based on solving a problem statement for say e-commerce app. We have senior designers in the team who can assist you and guide you and share their experience around general design patterns related to e-commerce, or certain type of user behavior that they would know to help you in your research phase, right? So all of those guidance and assistance are going to be provided throughout this training. The internship opportunity that we will have. So we have always believed in onboarding the right folks, identifying people where we can add the most amount of value, and it is vice versa as well. We identify people whom we think can add most amount of value to our teams. So there is going to be a small interview towards the end of the training on, and also the assessment happens in a completely non-biased way, where your performance is not only measured by the trainer who's going to be the Divij, but also from the mentors and everyone that you'll be interacting with. So you don't have, say, you don't get into a scenario where you feel like, okay, somebody favors somebody, so that person got selected. So that never happens. Our hiring process and overall onboarding process is extremely democratic. It has been democratic since a long time. If any one of you is based out of Pune, you can always drop by. Our doors are always open. You can come and meet us in person as well. We all of us are working from office, right? So it's late in the evening, hence I'm at home. But I think Praveen is still in the office right now. Even though we don't appreciate people staying late in the office, but I understand sometimes it is required. But yeah, it's excellent. Thank you so much, Divij, for sharing such a detailed session on everything that we'll be touching upon. And we will probably we could also include information on the tools that probably will be, any specific, like Figma, I think definitely we'll be touching, and probably any other brainstorming tools, could be Whimsical, could be Miro, anything and everything that is required for execution. For prototyping, we mostly rely on Figma for majority of our prototyping needs, but for larger, more complicated micro interactions and high fidelity prototypes, we sometimes do use Principal App or After Effects, to bring more richness to the prototypes that we build. You will, and we will also try to help you understand how, as a designer, we collaborate with technical teams, right? When for example, you're working with product manager, like how do you collaborate with the product manager? How do you collaborate with the front end developer? So all of that knowledge exists in the team, and we will, in the process of teaching you, we will also be learning. It's going to be a revision for all of us, including the senior designers who are there. So definitely going to be very exciting, process and journey. But yeah, I think the questions are open. I think a couple of questions have come in
All
already.
right. So we'll start with the queries that we had also got. So one of the queries is this only going to be a UX program, or will we be getting to work on UI as well? So as I had already shared, UX design includes UI design, so you will learn UI design as well. Yeah, that is the answer.
There also, yeah, I would. Divij, if you don't mind, I would like to elaborate on that little. If that's okay. Yeah, I'll go ahead. Yeah. So within the user interface or the visual design, right? So for us, UI falls under the larger umbrella that Divij was talking about in the beginning, the interaction design phase. It is going to be there. We are very particular about visual design fundamentals. So from grid systems, spacing, visual hierarchy, typographical fundamentals. Even later on, we can also touch upon motion design, micro interaction fundamentals. We believe that these fundamentals are the final differentiator, right? When you look at different portfolios and you sometimes feel, oh, this design has something good that doesn't feel, you know, hitting the spot. It is generally those fundamentals which are missed out. So we put extra emphasis on those things. Good news is a lot of visual design and UI design fundamentals are like mathematics. Right? The more you practice, the better you get, and we have all the patience that is required for you to make your own experiments, make your own mistakes. So yeah, definitely the entire visual design, the interface design is going to be part of the overall curriculum.
Yes, visual design, of course. There's something I missed, that visual design is going to be a very important part, because eventually what we learn is that if something doesn't look good, then even if it has research behind it, even if it has lots of value behind it, it does not really translate. So we'll work on visual designs. If you are a designer, of course, you might have the understanding, but even if you are not the designer, we'll be talking about all the different things like color theory, like Gestalt laws, how do you use grid spacing, and all these things we'll talk about. So I'll take the next question. One of the questions that we got was, will we be providing the placement assistance, right? So about the placement, like I had already discussed, we will be discussing about how to make the portfolio. Of course, you will be uploading it on Behance, and that end product, we'll make sure that it is polished. It is in a way that the industry requires, and something that can get you through the, let's say, shortlisting round. Okay, we'll also share how you can, what kind of answers you can give in the interview, what kind of questions can be asked. Okay, so all these things we'll take care of. Of course, then you will be applying to different companies, and then of course that we will have mock interviews, so you'll understand how it happens in a real sense. So we won't be just be talking about interviews. We'll take your interviews, and then we'll give you suggestions and feedback on how you can improve certain things in your interviews, how you can improve your answers, how you can improve the presentation of your portfolio project, and so on. But of course, then you will have to apply yourself. We cannot apply on your behalf. You will be applying to different companies. You can share your experiences. We can give you feedback that, okay, if certain questions are being asked, how will you answer that? And we can provide assistance with interviews, right? So that is what this particular training will be providing.
Yeah. Along with that,
Anything
you can always make. Along with that, people can always make use of access that they have to the seniors and the mentors, because in general, our hiring ratio is pretty low. As in, I remember looking at the data a few months ago, we hired less than 2% of the people who apply with us. So the overall selection criteria is pretty tough. What that means is people who are part of the team have gone through some of those rigorous rounds of interviews, and they have managed to be part of the team and great contributors. So people that you will work with, they will always be open to help you out with any kind of a question, guidance, portfolio review, anything of that sort. Like they can definitely help you there. So purely from placement, a placement perspective of, say, something what colleges and large institutes do, that is not who we are. We are not really a design school, right? We are not. There are a bunch of different large design schools out there doing fantastic work. What we have is a completely different. As I said, we are part of product engineering, and for us, UX is a very integrated part of the UX, the product engineering process, and that is how we look at UX, and that is how we have approached this entire training program. We will definitely be hiring for our needs based on your performance throughout the training, we have interns for positions, so we'll be absorbing you there most probably. And but again, all the learnings that you'll use, you can anyways. I'm sure and confident you'll be able to use it anywhere you go.
All right. Thank you, Chandan. So one of the next questions is, what are the basic requirements to join the program? Can students join? So I don't think we have a problem with students joining, Chandan, as long as they have the bandwidth to
yeah,
attend.
of course, yeah.
So
See,
you should
as
first of
long
all
as they're
keep.
not. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you should not be sacrificing on what matters to you most in your life, right? Doesn't if you're part of a college or a curriculum, you would have spent lakhs of rupees, right? So our programs is not it's not as expensive as your traditional education is going to be. There, the learnings are much more elaborate and longer in nature. Also, if you're a working professional, just make sure that you are balancing your work with this. It's definitely a good skill to acquire and very valuable in the software world. But at the same time, make sure that your priorities are right and your focus is in the right place. Otherwise, if you try to ride two boats together, you'll end up falling in the river, right? So just make sure that you have things sorted out in that perspective.
Right. So any basic requirements? There are no requirements. Of course, you need to be curious. You need to have a learner's mindset, and that is it. Usually, like I said, visual design is something that people might struggle with, but that is something that we'll be talking about a lot. Okay. One of the questions is design training. Will it be taught on Figma? Yes, we'll be using Figma and certain other tools according to what step we are doing in the design thinking process. So we might use something else for, let's say, brainstorming. And in the end, when we are prototyping and making animations, we might use certain other tools where Figma might end up having some limitations, right? Uh, Will the training also cover fundamentals of UI, not just tools? Yes, we'll be covering certain parts of UI, like let's say the grid system itself, how to work with components, how to work with auto layouts, how to work with style guides, and so on. So we'll also be talking about UI and cover how
Yeah.
to design for
Also,
Android, iOS, and
yeah.
smartwatch. Yes, Chandan?
Yeah, yeah. So I think related to that is will be helping you understand the fundamentals of design systems as well. As a team, we
Yes.
have built highly flexible, very complex design systems. You can imagine material design, right? That level of work we have delivered, which has not always been limited to design artifacts, but it has gone towards the development and front end development part of things as well. So we will be touching base on a lot of those things, and we'll be helping you acquire skills on understanding or even building design system, large scale design system. How should you approach it? How should you, for example, set up your elements, components, pages, templates, modules, whatever that is there, right? So all of those fundamentals will be shared. And of course, one more thing is the curriculum is kind of a guiding line for you. So you should not feel bound by I need to stick to just this framework. Anything that you want to learn which is related to UX, even if it is not part of the curriculum, you are free to approach Divij, Praveen, myself, or the mentor who will be mapped to you. It is not like if we are not going to talk about micro interactions in a very detailed manner, so you should not learn it. That should not be the approach. You can always reach out to us and acquire more knowledge. In fact, in the previous batches, I used to spend my weekends regularly speaking with people one on one, and a lot of we used to conduct a lot of extra workshops also. I remember we had 2 3 days long, very extensive Figma deep dive workshops to help people learn Figma and make use of all of its features. So that's definitely going to be there. The OS design fundamentals, for example, the way you design for iOS, native iOS apps, and Android iOS apps, or say Windows apps. The Not Android iOS app, I think I said that incorrectly, but yeah, Android OS apps, iOS apps, and say for example Windows or any other OS platforms, they have their own usability factors that you need to keep in mind. Some of the larger, more commonly used design fundamentals do not apply. For example, grid system and spacings are slightly different when you try to design for a say an Android device versus when you try to design it for for an Apple device. Of course, there are more complications if you design it for TV interface, for example. Right? The usability is different. The way you interact with the software is different. Every a lot of interaction design patterns in general are different, right? So, and of course, if you are trying to be, if your problem revolves around web, uh, you know, running inside the browser kind of a user experience, then you'll be dealing with responsive webs, and that is where your lot of this system fundamentals, facing fundamentals, or that typography, scalable typography fundamentals are going to be covered. Right? So that's there. So again, it will purely depend on what problem you are going to be solving. If your product is going to be primarily designed around iOS, then of course you will be dealing with, and you will be taught and trained and helped with iOS design fundamentals. If it is Android, then it's going to be Android, or if it is both, then of course both. That is how it will go down.
All right. So Praveen is here. So Praveen, I'll be asking the next question to you. You can take the next Q&A. So will the training be on-site or remote? This is one of the questions.
Okay. So, guys, this training is going to be online. You don't need to physically present in any of the office or anywhere. Just attend it from your own convenience.
Of course, but yeah, if you happen to be in the city, feel free to drop by. Right. So
Yes.
we are human beings. We have two hands and two legs and stuff. So we can always catch up with you in person, whether if you happen to be in the city.
Yes, so if you are in Pune, you can visit the headquarters and of course meet the people in person. Will the sessions be recorded or live? We'll be having all the sessions live where you will be seeing my face, and of course we'll be talking about a lot of things. We'll be having interactive activities, and of course we'll be talking amongst the other designers which are there in the course. So these are going to be live sessions. How to apply to Mastercamp? You can drop an email to design-training@coditas.com. You might be able to see it in the chat. So you can just drop an email and you'll be contacted. Is it
I would like
compulsory
to
to
interrupt here, Divij. We also have mentioned form in the comments, Google form. You all can fill the Google form mentioned in the links, and a person from Coditas will reach out to you for the same.
All right. Okay, so this is the bigger question. We'll take it afterwards. Let us take the small questions first. So will that program train website designing also? Website designing, if you are referring to the coding part also, then we will not be diving too deep into the coding. We'll be talking about the design and how to deliver that design to the programmers. But the coding part will not be there. And of course, you do not need to understand coding for to complete this course. Okay. Is it an online or offline mode? It is online mode. Is this program paid? Yes, the program is paid. You can get all the information about the fees after you fill the form or you drop an email. Okay, so let's come to the bigger question that I was talking about. Is it compulsory to go to design school / have online certificates to get hired in a good company as a UI UX designers, or having good knowledge of tools and UI UX is sufficient? So the person is asking that, do you need a like a written certificate, or do you need to be from a design school, or just understanding all these things is sufficient? So one of the things that this question has missed is portfolio. Okay, you have not mentioned portfolio. So if you have a portfolio, you have the knowledge of UI UX, you understand the tools, then it might very well be possible. But then again, you are assuming that you will have the good knowledge and all the understanding without going to design school or having a certificate. Okay, of course, the thing with self-learning is that it requires a lot of dedication, it requires a lot of discipline. Okay, but assuming that you have good knowledge of tools, you have good knowledge of UI UX, and you have a portfolio, then of course it's possible to get hired in a company. But the assumption itself that without online certificate or going to a design school, you will have good knowledge, that has a lot of things going around it. Okay, but yes, it is possible.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, as in, I think full disclosure, I have zero certification in design. I have a computer science background. I don't know, Praveen, do you have what is your educational background, Praveen?
So same, Chandan. After my formal education, I get it into this field without
Uh,
any certification and all.
Certification, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Divij, what is your educational background?
I actually have a master's in design, so
क्या
I'm
बात
a
है
trained designer from college, and
you are
so I have a whole 2-year course about experience design. So I have done masters,
yeah
but
yeah
we have majority of people who do not have the certificate.
definitely.
But yeah, it
Definitely,
also
I think
matters. So
it
if you
does,
have
yeah,
experience in some other job, if you have experience in working in these kind of processes, then it might be a plus point. But if you are coming
yeah,
out of college, your degree might, if your degree is different, then a certificate at least assures the employer that
yeah,
you have
correct,
done something other than that. But if you have
correct.
experience, then it might become easier.
Correct,
Relevant
definitely,
experience.
definitely. And in fact, a lot of different teams look for different things when they try to hire, right? So, say for example, there are companies who only hire from NIDs and IDCs, right? They don't entertain anyone else. And of course, I'm talking about Googles and Apples of the world, right? So, it purely depends on what where you are in your career and what your long term goals are. If you have 10s and 20s and 30 lakh of rupees, you can of course go for something more elaborate material program and degree, acquire degree and certification. um, or on the other hand, if you do not have that kind of a budget, and then of course you can go ahead with something which is much more reasonable. Is it a compulsion to have a certification or degree? Absolutely not. And in fact, that is the case with any profession, not only design. I've seen how just day before yesterday, I was reading about a real estate broker who got into coding 10 years ago and has been loving it, and is working at Microsoft or something. I think it was Microsoft. So people keep on moving careers based on what they are passionate about. It's just that some kind of a certification, some kind of a stamp of your already done hard work does help. But is it a compulsory? That is absolutely not the case. As David said, you have excellent portfolio. Your design fundamentals are strong. Your communication skills are strong. Your presentation, you're confident. You are thorough about your approach, right? So those things matter a lot as well, along with, of course, the traditional design education and knowledge.
All right. So almost hitting the 1 hour mark. So we'll take a final question. Is this meant for professionals? If it is, could you explain the training schedule? And do we need to pay any fees? All right. So Chandan, of course, this is meant for professionals, but students can also do it, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
of course, if we are
Anyone can
talking
do it.
about, you have to be very
Yeah,
professional in the course itself. It's not like
yeah,
college
of
where you
course.
can bunk and it's not casual at all. So of course, it will happen in a very professional manner. You will be expected
Yeah,
to be very professional in the course.
yeah,
But
yeah.
even if you are a student or a professional, the knowledge, the understanding of tools and the foundations will be relevant to you if you want to learn UX design. Yes, Chandan, go
Correct,
ahead.
of course. I think yeah, then it doesn't matter if you're a working professional or a student or anybody. Even if you're trying to move from one career to the other, then this course is going to be absolutely fine for you. As long as schedules are concerned, it's a very involved learning process. So you do have kind of a daily 8 hours kind of a involvement. 8 hours as in your session could be 2-3 hours, and then you have rest of the day to on your own to practice. However long you want to practice. It could be 8 hours, it could be 10 hours, it could be 4 hours, depending on how fast or slow you are. Completely on you to manage. And of course, they all the sessions are going to be live. None of they're not going to be recorded sessions. We will depending on at what stage we are in the curriculum, we will be hosting additional workshops for you to learn the tool sometimes or get into any specific fundamentals that you would want to learn more. We can take additional classes for those for those aspects. And so that's how we have planned it to be. The current shape is like that. We are going back and forth on understanding how we can make the program more flexible for the future batches, but at the same time, as we have been consistently saying, we do not want to onboard 30-40 people and then try to tackle the batch in that way. 8 to 10 people is a kind of a sweet spot where we have enough senior bandwidth to give you attention. We have enough bandwidth from the trainer also to help you with all that you require. So we try to focus on that, keep the batch size as small as possible, to provide as much value as possible. The 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 fee also is very reasonable if you compare it with any other similar programs out there. Um, and I don't know if that's how it's going to be in the future as well, but at this point in time it's pretty reasonable. Awesome. I
Right.
think that was the last question we have to pick.
One more question.
And
So,
I think,
of course,
yeah,
we
sorry,
have
go ahead.
well past the limit, but one of the questions is how many projects are we going to have during the course of the training? Of course, one might be very overwhelmed seeing other people's portfolios, other people's Behance profiles, but we'll be doing at least one project. We'll be doing one project, the whole UX case study from start to finish. And of course, once you do that project for 16 weeks, you'll have an understanding on how you can do more projects, how you can do small things from projects. Let's say you post 2 to 3 screens. Some people, what they do is they only do the UI design part and post it on Behance. But at least once I've seen people getting hired only on the basis of one whole UX design process that through which they can portray what kind of methods do they follow, what kind of methodology do they know, what kind of research do they understand. So we'll be doing one whole process, and other than that, you will have enough understanding that you will be able to do small UI projects, 2 or 3 screens, small research projects that you might do. That is so one whole project, and of course that is enough for you to get hired for entry level roles at least. What would be the batch timings? The office timings. So for people who go to office, you might not be able to attend these. From 10 a.m. to 4 to 5 p.m. we'll be engaging in activities. We'll be having our sessions. But of course, we might be coming up with courses which are for professionals. So if you want a course to happen on weekends, let us say, or in the evening, we might do it in the future. So at least drop us a mail so you are in a mailing list when we actually do that. Or you can follow us on social.
Yeah, of course. And in fact, if you have any, I know I think we are running out of time. We have only a few minutes to go, but I'm sure you guys you would have more questions. The email ID is shared with you. You can send an email to that email ID. You'll get a Google form and response. So that's how we are capturing the registrations at this point in time. And then somebody from our team is going to give you a call. You can ask all the questions that you have to that person, and then depending on how things go, you can be part of the session. We are pushing really aggressive to get this program started sometime in the coming week itself. So if you have if you want to apply, you'll have to move fast, because once we decide the final date, will not be taking any new registration for this batch. You can of course apply for the next batch, right? So that will, as soon as this one is over, we'll be starting a batch for the next quarter or later this year. So that registration can still happen. But yeah, for any additional questions, please reach out to us using the email ID that Avisha had posted, and we'll be happy to help.
All right. Awesome. So shall we wrap up this session?
Yeah, we can definitely. I'd just like to thank everyone again. It was wonderful. I'm very excited to restart this exercise. We had taken a couple of quarters of break, and I'm hopeful that we will be able to have similar successful track record with this program in the coming months as well.
All right. Any parting words, Praveen?
Yeah, I'm good. I think we can wrap.
All right. Thanks everyone for joining. And so someone is saying that form link is not working. Of course, if form is not working, you can drop us an email. So that should also work. We'll reach out to you. Thank you for joining. We'll be wrapping up this session, and I'll see you in the course if you join. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next one. Design fraternity is very good. So you'll get to, if you become a designer, you will see me somewhere, maybe on LinkedIn. We can connect. So thanks a lot, everyone.
Thank you so much, everyone. Bye-bye. Have a good weekend.
Thank you, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye. And happy weekend.
Thank you, Avisha. Bye-bye.